So, during one of those summer vacations, I did a Berlin walk. And I didn't say anything to my wife because she was definitely not committed to a move at that point. But I thought, if I ever lived here, that's something I'd like to do. So once we moved here and we got settled in, I went to see the owner of Berlin Walks, and I told him I wanted to be one of his tour guides. And he looked at me and he said, well, they're all sort of university students. So I told him I'd add some maturity to his staff. So you're stuck with the old guy today. But I can tell you I've been reading about and studying this piece of German history since I was 14, 15 years old. I think I have a pretty good handle on it.
Of course you have.
And I hope it meshes with what you know. So that's sort of the preamble to the tour. And now you stay where you are. I'm going to go behind you, and I'm just going to orient you a little bit. First, I want to say a couple. You stay here too. I wanted to say a few things about the tour itself. One of them is that I think it's impossible to do a completely objective tour about this piece of German history. So you're going to get it through my eyes, the way I see it. Hopefully it's sort of what you know as well. And the other thing that's important for you to know is a lot of what I have to show you today doesn't exist anymore. So I have a set of photographs that I'm going to use to help you recreate for yourselves the way.
Yeah, many things don't exist anymore. I know. Yeah,
Some does, but a lot of it doesn't.
A lot of them are gone.
So, having said all of that, let me tell you that this street behind me is Wilhelm. And from the time of Bismarck until the end of the Second World War, this was the main government street here in Berlin. So we're going to be spending some time on Wilhelmstrasse. Look down this little street, Wallstrasse. Those high-rise buildings in the background, that's Potsdamer Platz. Have you been there?
Yeah, well, 15 years ago.
Oh, well, it's really special now, especially the Sony Central.
Yeah, well, it was there back then. Maybe it was 12 years ago. But...
Yeah. So, somewhere between the high-rise buildings and that white building, that's where the dividing line was at the end of the Second World War between the American zone over there and the Russian zone over here. So we're in the former Russian zone, the former East Germany, and I would say 75% of this tour takes place in the former East. When we cross the border, I'll let you know. Have your passports ready?
Yeah. Oh.
If you're at all interested in this piece of history, or you watch the History Channel, I'm sure that you've seen the film footage of the night that Hitler became Chancellor of Germany.
Yeah.
And he stood on a balcony, and his followers came in a torchlight parade down the street and honored him that way. Take a look at that second apartment building over there. Roughly where that is today, that's where the old Reich Chancellery used to be. So that balcony would have been right in there somewhere. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
When Hitler became Chancellor, he had his architect, Albert Speer, build him a new Reich Chancellery.
Of course.
That building came out to this corner here, where this little Chinese restaurant is, and it ran all the way down Vossstrasse to Potsdamer Platz. It was a long, narrow building. So here's what we're going to be doing. I'm going to take you around the corner. I'm going to show you Goebbels' propaganda ministry.
Yeah.
Then we're going to come back around here to this big gray building with the flag on the roof.
Yeah.
That's Hermann Göring's Air Force Ministry, the Luftwaffe up here. I'm going to show you that. Then we're going to go around behind that building to an exhibit called the Photography of Terror. That's where the SS and the Gestapo headquarters used to be. I'll show you that. Then we're going to walk down to a train station, the Anhalter Bahnhof. Also ties in with this piece of history. I'll show you that. Then we're going to get on the S-Bahn. By the way, do you have tickets? Yeah, I asked you that already. We're going to get on the S-Bahn. We're going to travel one stop back to Potsdamer Platz. And from that vantage point, I'm going to show you the new Reich Chancellery. And then we're going to wind up with this bunker over there. Okay. So, the tour is finally about to begin. And it begins here in the former Wilhelmplatz. Did you know, little German, you know, Platz means square. I'm sure you know some German. I intentionally use the word former
Former.
because you might look around here and say, well, what kind of a plotz is this? But now I'm going to ask you to use your imagination. This was the Czech embassy. There is the Czech embassy. It was built during the East German times. I'm going to ask you to sort of take a magic wand and get rid of it. And while you're at it, get rid of that ugly building behind it. And this will form a pretty good sized square in here. And now I'm going to go behind you. I'm going to show you what Wilhelmplatz looked like around 1918.
Total different. I know, yeah.
Okay?
Crazy, yeah.
This was Wilhelmplatz back then. So a couple of identifiable landmarks. This building, that one over there, it's the only one that survived the bombing in the war. I'm going to talk more about that building when we get around the corner. This little statue behind us,
Yeah.
that was there. God. And it's a Richter.
Okay.
This just went back up again about 3 years ago, because during the war, the Berliners hid a lot of their statuary in the rivers to protect it from the bombing.
Yeah.
They've been slowly bringing stuff up, cleaning it up, and putting it back up again. So he's only been here about 3 years now. So he's there. The U-Bahn station was there, looking a lot more elegant than it does today. And it wasn't called the Mohrenstrasse station back then. It was called the Kaiserhof station, and it was named for this huge hotel that sat in the far corner of the square.
Was that bombed as well?
That was bombed out too.
Of course, it was all
So-
was bombed here.
Why do I bore you with all of this interesting information? Adolf Hitler never felt comfortable here in Berlin. This was not his town. He spent minimal time in Berlin. But toward the end of 1932, he knew he was going to be named Chancellor of Germany. So he came to Berlin and he took up residence in the Kaiserhof. He also had a little office there, just waiting to be named Chancellor. And as soon as Hitler was named Chancellor of this country, he had a very short walk from there over to there to take up office. Let's go around the corner.
Have you been to Sarasota?
Yeah, I tell you what, I went to Sarasota. And I was starting to think about retirement. So, 1933, the Nazis come to power here in Germany. And as soon as they do, all the big shots in the Nazi party, they all come to Berlin. They're all looking for office space. Joseph Goebbels was already Hitler's propaganda minister. And he came to this part of Berlin, and where this street is today, there was a little palace in here. He took over that building, and he made it the headquarters for his ministry, which I think very interesting. The official name of his ministry was the Ministry for Propaganda and Public Enlightenment. The word propaganda had no negative connotation back then. I mean, maybe he even gave it its negative connotation, but no negative connotation. So he took over that little palace, and he immediately had Albert Speer build him an addition. This is a great photograph. I love this. This is 1936. It shows the old palace, and it shows the scaffolding for the addition. I'll put my finger on it. So the old palace got bombed out in 1943, and the Nazis tore the building down themselves. But this addition survived, and this is it. Very typical of their
How was it
architecture.
possible to survive? Huh?
Fine.
How was it possible to survive?
I have something more impossible that I'll tell you about later. So this building survived, and it's now the Ministry for Labor here in Germany. You can see this is very typical of Albert Speer's architecture, this neoclassic, heavy, domineering style. You can see the three closed-off windows and the doorways where it joined into the old palace.
Was it designed like that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Looks more modern than 19.